to AudioCodes UC Talks with me, Jay Wyatt, and my colleague, John Stuart Murray. John is a solution consultant in the UK, and I've got to say, and I'm going to be quite gushing about this, he's quite simply the most knowledgeable guy I've ever met when it comes to UC. Stop it. We've actually co-presented at a few events, which has always been massively enjoyable. So, John, thank you ever so much for taking time today to come on to UC Talks. Over the last few weeks, I've also been doing a series of video blogs with Shane Hoey from APAC and Scott Middlebrooks from the USA. And we've been discussing everything Microsoft Teams, from kind of initial deployment considerations, through to legacy integration, direct routing, endpoint devices, and so on. So, have you had a chance to see any of the videos that we produced so far?
I have. They've been great, actually, and very interesting. So very thought-provoking. So good. It's a good series, and I'm glad to be part of it. So yeah, thanks for inviting me along. It's very kind.
Awesome. John, since you're at the coalface, especially in the UK, I know we're both based in the UK, but obviously my remit's a little bit different to yours. I thought it'd be really interesting to kind of understand, what's been happening in the UK over the last few months. If the reports are to be believed. With Microsoft sort of stating that they've seen an increase from 37 million daily active users to, I think it's like 77 million daily users now. Which is obviously an incredible increase in users. Which I personally have my own doubts on, how many will continue to embrace Microsoft Teams kind of going forward. Have you seen any kind of increase in demand from your perspective? I mean, I know you're flat out, to be fair, but tell me, what's been going on?
No, I mean, so Teams obviously has been a great success for Microsoft and for ourselves as well. So we've had a really steady ramp up in work. Ever since Teams Direct Routing came out, probably a couple of years ago now, it's been more and more and more. Obviously there was a huge ramp as soon as the lockdown started. Basically, we had an immediate flurry of people wanting to quickly set up stuff and quickly relocate their end users to home. So there was huge for about 2 weeks, really, really intense. I was working kind of 20 hours a day sort of thing. Wow. And then it was incredible sort of thing, yeah. And that was, all of our partners basically were involved, setting up hosted platforms and quickly getting around all the obstacles you need to deliver a good service, essentially. And then it slowed down for about a week. I think everyone took a breath, and now we're back on track, and everyone is just starting to roll out their projects again, basically. So we're running high demand at the moment. Yeah, very busy.
Okay, so that kind of leads me quite nicely then into, I've already said that I have my own doubts about how many people will continue to embrace Microsoft Teams, kind of post kind of lockdown. What do you think? Do you think organizations will continue to use Teams, or do you think there will be an element that will drift back to what they knew and what they used before, and perhaps then do things slow time?
I think it's going to be a significant portion of them are going to keep on using Teams. I think because I've heard what people say, or what our customers say about their customers, the end users that are actually using it, and I think they've been pleasantly surprised how easy it is to use Teams, how powerful it is, and how effective it is as a sort of collab tool. Because it's we talk about the voice side kind of thing, but obviously Teams is so much more than that, and people are really seeing how useful it is. I think as solo workers, which you are effectively in this kind of situation, but still being connected to everyone else in your team. And that's what Teams is all about, essentially. So no, I think it's going to be a really big uptake and a permanent uptake for Teams as well, I think.
Okay, well, I mean that's obviously great to hear. So I mean, with that in mind, in your view, what are the key considerations when moving to a full kind of Teams environment?
There's lots. Obviously, it depends on who you are and what kind of company you are. If you're a small organization, it's easy. You can just do a lock, stock and barrel, turn the switch. One day you're running a small PBX in the office, or you might have a hosted solution from someone else, and then over the weekend you can switch to Teams and you're up and running. It's very easy. If you're a mid-sized organization, you might have connections to a PBX or a contact center to think about. So you've got to kind of plan how you're going to manage that, essentially. So things are harder, and all the security implications. I mean, that's the one thing I have noticed is that very quickly everyone started working from home, and some of the normal kind of security processes and sort of like access processes that have take place were kind of dropped basically, and people just wanted to make phone calls. So they kind of and Teams is great for that because it is secure if you're working from home, but there's other things around it, like all the firewalls and stuff that are set up that need to be thought about. So that's going to need to be considered in the long term. Is creating a permanent solution out of the ad hoc solutions that are now in place, essentially.
Okay. So to that end, then, what are you seeing as being the kind of common challenges with all of this?
Well, I guess it's scale has been a big one. Is trying to get the right scale. Because you suddenly need to have lots and lots of capacity, obviously, for making phone calls,
Yeah.
and that's where our software SBCs are fantastic, because most of our sales are software SBCs now. They're hosted in Azure, somewhere in the cloud, and because you have that scale on tap, it's great. So the move away from hardware to software has really made all this kind of stuff much easier. So direct routing as a service, SBCs as a service, that's the kind of that's overcome the big challenge that you would normally have, because normally you used to have like an ISDN board that had 30 phone calls, and if you wanted to make more, you bought another ISDN board and got a line in from BT that took 3 months to provision. But now you can add 50 channels in a millisecond with a phone call, so that really makes life so much easier, basically. So that challenge gone. So the main challenge is, I guess, around a user adoption. That kind of thing, because Teams is different. It's not the same as having a phone on your desk. It's a different world. So I think that's the big challenges people have is take up an adoption of Teams and using it effectively.
But I guess because obviously, Teams has been thrust at many sort of employees working from home. The adoption piece is going to be a little bit different. I think posthumously, there are things that need to be done. So you've already highlighted security. Organizations now need to stop, take stock of where they're at, and kind of perhaps go through some of the processes they would have ordinarily gone through, like network assessments and security assessments, organizational awareness, that kind of stuff. And user adoption is another one, I guess, because at the moment perhaps people are just using Teams for video calling or calling their colleagues. Perhaps they're not fully aware of the complete capacity or what it can actually do in terms of collaboration as well. So I think there's there are lots of things now that need to be done for organizations to be able to embrace it fully.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, it's a very good point, because Teams can do so much more. You've got all the channels and stuff, and you can add extra sort of applications effectively to it. So, for example, we've got a product, Meeting Insights, which is used in meetings like this to give you a kind of like a concierge that sits alongside you. And what we're going to do to it is integrate it more into Teams, so that if you do make an action, for example, in Meeting Insights, it puts it into Teams as an action in Teams, not as a separate action somewhere else. So that kind of integration with Teams really helps that to be your center of your workflow. So yeah, that's the kind of work that people need to do, I think, is add stuff to Teams and other applications like it.
Is that public knowledge, John? I mean,
just go beep beep beep. John was saying something.
I think that'd be really, really good. So
it's almost public knowledge. So yes.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely
just don't tell anyone.
No. John, that's really great. Thank you ever so much. And for everybody that's listening, thank you for taking time to listen to us. If there's anything we've discussed today, please feel free to email me at uctalks@audiocodes.com. Of course, if you've liked the video, please hit like. If you want to share the video, please feel free to share it. So once again, thank you ever so much, and thank you, John.
It's a great pleasure. Good to talk to you all. Okay, thanks a lot, Jay.